Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the Ammo Nerd, and we've got my favorite caliber to review today, 5.7x28mm. This is from Hornady, brand new for 2024. This is their 40 grain FTX critical defense. Let's throw this guy on the table and talk about what we're going to do today. In full transparency, I myself bought 10 boxes of this from Firearms Depot to review with no strings attached. I do have a sales order in direct from Hornady that was at the beginning of the year, and so far that has not been fulfilled. And when I saw this available to one of the distributors, I wanted to get ahead of the game and get it tested to see what kind of velocities and ballistics gel results we can get out of it. Since our 5.7 is one of my more popular calibers, we have a wide array of barrel lengths from our 4.7 inch all the way up to and including 16. After we've collected that velocity figures for those different barrels in a general reliability test, I only have 250 rounds of this. We're going to step out to around 25 yards and see what kind of practical accuracy we can get out of this load with our pistol and our PDW/rifle barrel length. Come to find out, we discovered that some of our higher performing ammunition doesn't have the greatest accuracy in our shorter pistol barrels past about 10 to 15 yards. So depending on your use case, some of those rounds may not be beneficial. Usually our 40 grain loads tend to shine in all of our barrel lengths for having nice tight groups. When we tested our Hornady Black a few months ago, that had a lot better performance over our standard SS197, very comparable to our AAC 40 grain VMAX. With this particular bullet design in 5.7, we need the velocity to be at least 1800 to possibly 1850 in our pistol barrel length so that we get some good expansion and terminal effect, as well as providing at least 12 inches in our ballistics gelatin. Hornady is still using their own brass, at least from what I can tell. It is head stamped Hornady, and the coating on the brass is different than that of the FN. When we tested the Hornady Black, we did have that case failure in our AR-5.7, but I think more so that was on the design of our AR-5.7 and a lack of any out of battery firing protection on that particular design. So we're gonna have to be very careful today just to make sure that we don't have any of those neck separations during our testing. We'll start with our shortest barrel length. This is our Palmetto State Armory Rock. This has the 4.7 inch barrel. In conjunction with our light screen chronograph, we're also running the Garmin Xero C1 Pro. We picked that up from Cabela's. A big thank you to them for working with me to get my hands on that to see how it compares to our light screen. The only disadvantage so far to that is I do have to wait a little while longer between each shots for it to pick it up. But it looks like we're over 1,800 feet per second by the Garmin. Our test wouldn't be complete without the OG. This is our FN 5.7 USG. I've had this for quite some time. This has the Eden Perfection flat face trigger in it. Now on to our 5-inch. This is our newcomer. This is our Smith & Wesson M&P 5.7. What is unique about this over the other 5.7 handguns, it is actually gas operated. There is some ports in the barrel that then have a sleeve that helps drive this locking mechanism. So far, the only disadvantage to this is that we're at a velocity loss for that system. Otherwise, it's a very, very flat shooting gun. Looks like we're seeing right around 1850 so far with that. Very, very respectable numbers for this load. Nice that we're getting the velocity up. Now we step up the barrel length a little bit. This is our Palmetto State Armory. This is a 5.2 inch barrel. We have the Eden Perfection compensator on there. So if you want to make these even flatter shooting, that will do it for you. Next up, we have our 5.2-inch barrel 5.7 Mark II. This has the EFK barrel in it and the Doran Technologies DT Chaos slide cover, as well as the Elite ammunition trigger shoe. Now onto the longest barrel we have for our pistol. This is our Ruger 5.7. It has a 5.5-inch factory threaded barrel in it. This one gives us very good velocities. Now we're getting into our PDW barrel lengths. This is our 8-inch Diamondback DBX. What's unique about this over the other 5.7 PDWs, it is gas operated versus direct blowback. It is a very, very thin and lightweight package. Now on to our 8-inch. This is our CMMG MK57. This one takes their proprietary lowers in a standard AR-15 lower. I pretty much love this gun because it's radio delay blowback. It's been very, very reliable. I say that, and we have a jam. Looks like we have a failure to feed. Whatever happened there, it looks like the bullet jammed a little bit. So we'll throw that one aside. Now we're on to our 9.6-inch barrel Kel-Tec P50. This one's pretty interesting because it opens at the top, uses our FNP 90 magazines. Now this is where we could see some feeding issues with this magazine arrangement, because typically on guns that employ this magazine, there is no feed ramp on the barrel, so everything has to be perfectly aligned. And it already... That was weird. Oh. Second failure there. We smashed the bullet completely in there. Let's see. Oh, we have a broken neck, I think, in the chamber, folks. Yep, I think there's a broken neck inside the chamber of this gun. I will say, from my experience, this particular gun will not handle our hotter loads, and our Hornady ammunition is hotter than average. So we'll have to see if we can get that broken neck out of there. The P50 is down for the count, so let's move up to the 10.4-inch. This is our FNP90. This is built off the Imperial Arms FN90 receiver, and we actually got an OD green stock for this. A big thank you to my follower Michael, who traded me for this. Now I have a somewhat matching gun. I was a little quick on that one. Nice. We'll check and see if there's any issues running a suppressor. We have our FNP90 Yankee Hill Turbo T3, and Deacon will be shooting. Now on to our 12-inch. This is our AR-57. If you remember from the last test, we actually had an out of battery firing on this gun and it took it out. AR-57 was nice enough to replace that upper, and they have mentioned that they've made dimensional changes to shroud the firing pin a little more so that if the bolt doesn't go all the way forward, the hammer should not strike the firing pin. Just because of that, I will be shooting this, not Deacon. Let's see, we had a quickie there. Oh, a failure to feed. Jam the bullet in there. Nice, getting good velocities off this, but I would have to say that that bullet design is not advantageous in our P90 magazines. And finally, our 16-inch. This is our Ruger LC carbine. Fairly nifty little carbine here. I don't like that the nice push down magazine release is only for righties, but otherwise, nice little package. Ooh, over 2,300 feet per second. I can't wait to see what these are going to do in gel. As far as our accuracy goes with our critical defense from Hornady, here is our PSA rock at 8 yards. That is 0.415 inches on a 5-shot group. Very, very good. As a comparison, we were doing some groups with our black dragon fang today, 1.469 inches from the M&P, 1.669 from the FSN. We did hit 1.198 from the rock as well. For whatever reason, the Ruger at 8 yards, we had one that was way down there at 5.5 inches. That's not very good. We stepped back to 25 yards with the Ruger LC with the 16-inch barrel. This is just with a red dot, 0.659 inches. It was from a lead sled. As a comparison, the LC hit 2.02 inches with the black dragon fang. That round definitely, it favors longer barrels at 25 yards or longer for better accuracy. Then here is our Mark 5.7 from CMMG at 25 yards. This has a 6-power optic in the lead sled, 0.541 inches. Our Hornady Black, as a comparison, 0.737, and our AAC 40 grain VMAX, 1.032 inches. We also hit 0.626 with a second group from the Mark 5.7. I would say it's pretty darn impressive. Again, our 8-inch black dragon fang, 2.821 inches. We did shoot the rock at 25 yards. Our group size, 3.765 inches. I did have one little hang up, so I'm not sure why we had two down here unless we had a little lower velocity or something, but we had three of them right up there at a fairly tight group, and then we had two walkers. Apparently my dog is tired of me telling you about these group sizes. It's time to go throw her ball. Now it's time to see what this load will do in gel. If velocity is any indication, we should have very good expansion out of this with some good penetration depths. Tools and Targets already completed his review on it, so I'm kind of foreshadowing a little bit. So we'll start with our 5.2 inch barrel rock. $21.94 on the Garmin. $23.28. A big thank you to Clear Ballistics Gel Block for giving me a discount on purchasing some of these for our project. Again, those who support me on Patreon and other means are a great help to the channel. So, critical defense, if you know anything about that load, given its prior history, it's known to provide good expansion but somewhat limited penetration depths because it's not really designed for FBI barriers. And that seems to be the case here. This guy right here in the foreground is our pistol, right around 13 inches. Now, the bare minimum for the FBI spec is 10%. And with our Clear Ballistics gel here, we could actually see less penetration depths in organic gel. This medium tends to, from what I understand, cause less expansion and more penetration out of our round. Then in the bottom there at the 11 inch is our 10.4 inch barrel. And then right up there around the 10.5 inch mark is the 16 inch. We are getting good instantaneous neck there. Wounding is extending out to, you know, the 7+ inches, a little more so on the pistol. Given our troubles initially with feeding in the P90 magazines, I would tend to believe this round is more so designed to excel in our pistols with that penetration depth. I almost would rather go with our Hornady VMAX over this if you need a little more penetration depths and you're set on a 40 grain loading looking for better accuracy over our solid copper wonders. Not too shabby. Let's see how this does with the clothing. Now we'll see how this critical defense will do against some heavy cloth. Now, I don't have the denim that the FBI uses, but I have, I think, 2 ounces, so I have 6 total layers. I have denim, and then a cargo material, maybe like Cordura, and then 2 more layers of our denim. So we'll take a shot out of each one of our barrel lengths and see if this particular design clogs up. Given it has enough velocity behind it, I think it will just poke through the denim in cloth and not have an issue. Wound tracks on the cloth look a little different, folks. So this one right here in the foreground is our pistol. We get right around the 15 inch mark. You can see we still have expansion. Then at the 13 inch mark right there is the SBR. And then right down to around the 10 3/4 to 11 inch mark back there is the 16 inch. So I'm kind of liking this load for our 10 inch and underbarrels, especially going to shine with that pistol. Again, I don't think with this particular load we're producing the velocities that we need for that temporary stretch cavity to then translate into the elastic limit of some materials and then tearing and then aid in our wounding. This is more of what you see for pistol velocity type wounding, pretty much a straight track of, you know, permanent wound cavity, and wounding doesn't, you know, stretch out past its initial track point from the bullet. But we're getting expansion out of it and minimum penetration depths out of our shorter barrel lengths. There are marching orders, the bare gel on top, 5.2 inch, 10.4 and 16, and the cloth on the bottom. You can see with that cloth, it caused the jacket not to want to rip off as easily. Otherwise, again, we have good expansion. I'll have to take these home and check the overall maximum expansion diameter of that. But it looks to be, you know, at least 1.5 times the bullet diameter. Now let's test our 5.7's claim to fame, the ability to penetrate soft body armor. I have a tactical Scorpion Gear level 3A 6x8 panel down there, brand new. We'll take a shot and see where we are able to get penetration. We have velocity on our side, but this is the bullet isn't as pointy as some of our other designs, and it's not always about velocity with certain armor materials. Sometimes it is, but if you watch my channel enough, you know that we have some different armor panels over here on the side if we do get penetration, to see what the limits of this design is. The lack of slow motion always is an indication of the need for more speed. Our 5.2 inch, 10.4 inch, and then our 16 inch. R.A.N.G.E, we have a penetration on the 16 inch. We have a decent amount of disruption going on there, instantaneous. Looks like we lose a little piece there, we split out, and we get right to around the 11 inch mark. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I'm placing, you know, quote unquote fair hits on this armor 2 inches apart, give or take. In the real world, if you place multiple follow-up shots in a concentrated area, which 5.7 has the advantage of faster follow-up shots, the likelihood of you penetrating something is going to increase. But it looks like this design isn't as good as the 40 grain VMAX, whereas that did the same panel out of the 8 inch, but it did have less penetration. We did get expansion out of our soft 3A from the 16 inch, but not a lot, and this bullet is not bonded, so we lost our jacket with our lead core. But expansion is better than no expansion, I think, in this case. Well, folks, there you have it, another successful 5.7x28mm ammo evaluation. Our Hornady 40 grain critical defense delivered on our velocity front. We had very nice warm velocities for this 40 grain loading, just like we saw with our 40 grain VMAX. Now, as far as I'm aware, Hornady is using their own brass and their own coating, and we didn't have any failures this time in any of our guns except our Kel-Tec P50. Whatever the design is of that particular gun, it is straight blowback, pretty much like our AR-5.7, and we instantly ripped a neck off the case starting that velocity string, and then even after clearing it, it ripped another one off, and at that point I called it on that particular design. And I think going forward, I'm just going to use that for a general blasting gun at the range with our standard pressure loadings, because I don't want to risk ripping off another neck. As far as our accuracy goes, it would seem our 40 grain loadings of this particular design lend itself to being accurate not only out of our PCCs and our PDWs, they are accurate out of our pistols, where some of this testing that I've been doing shows that we're falling short with our little copper solid wonders that I recommend for personal protection, like our T6B and our Black Dragon Fang. They are accurate out to around 10 yards, but once you get to around 25 with our pistols, the accuracy falls off. So I'm providing you guys with this information. So if you're looking at making a decision for self-defense loads and accuracy at 25 yards or longer is important to you and you're using a pistol, you're going to want to look at one of these 40 grain loadings like the AAC VMAX, the Hornady VMAX, or this critical defense. As far as our gel results go, we had expansion through all of our barrel lengths and even against our heavy denim. Now on the flip side, our penetration depth, because this is an expanding round, tended to suffer, and you may be close to, if not under, the FBI spec for minimum penetration depth, which is 12 inches. Again, that is another data set to look at when making a buying decision for some of this ammunition. In that case, I personally am going to pick our VMAX load over this one. As far as any reliability or function issues, we had some function issues in our P90 style magazines and in some of our PDWs. I think mainly again because our critical defense has a more flatter nose versus that pointed projectile. So with that P90 magazine, there's no feed ramp on those guns. So if that magazine doesn't present that bullet at the perfect angle to feed right into that barrel, you are going to get some reliability issues. And these rounds do not have a collet crimp on the neck, so they are still susceptible to having any kind of bullet setback like we see in our American Eagle TMJ. But I think it is less of an issue with this particular bullet because it is a longer bullet versus that American Eagle TMJ. With all that being said, it's time for me to get the heck out of here. But at the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible, because there's a lot that goes into them. Number one is my family. They're out here all the time supporting me in any way they can. So a big thank you to them, especially when they get to go shooting with me. I appreciate that time I can spend with them. Number two is my Patreon, Subscribe Star, and YouTube channel members. I have a campsite in the description below. It's got a bunch of affiliate links to PSA, Brownells, Cabela's, Tactical Scorpion gear, RMA, and those are affiliate codes and they earn me a sales commission. They cost you nothing, and what I do with that is I put it right back in the channel. In this case, I bought that lot of ammunition from, I think, Firearms Depot. I actually just got the shipment delivery today from Hornady for that, so that came out of pocket for me to do, as well as the clear ballistics gel. Number three is clear ballistics gel. Again, they provided me with a discount to buy some of those blocks so that we could perform this test. Number four in this case is Tactical Scorpion gear. They provided us with the level 3A panels for us to do a lot of our demos with. A big thank you to them. As I mentioned, I have a discount code with them, that is Armor King, and I think it's 15% off of your order. Number five is Hornady. In full transparency, they sent me 6 boxes of that to review with no strings attached. And of course, number 6 is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range. And I can count too to 6. At least 6.